Everybody. Thanks for showing up. It's great to see such a large crowd. I don't think it's me. It must be our guest speaker. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And our first up this morning is Margaret has a presentation to make. Margaret, come on up.
Good morning. This morning I'd like to tell you about two groups that I'm involved with. The first one is Book Club. It's a very special group of people. We all love to read, but we are not a formal book club. We do not give reports. We do not talk plot, summary, or character. We say whether we like it, whether we would recommend it. We spend the whole rest of our time talking about what books other people have recommended to us, and we discuss them and we vote on them, and that's the next two books that we will read. You may read either one, both, or none, but you're welcome to come talk books with us. We meet in the Arts and Crafts Room the fourth Friday at 1:30. You're always welcome. The second group I'd like to talk about is Trivia Night. On Saturday night at 7:30, we meet in the Grand Lobby South. Everybody is welcome. We have different people in the group that will present the questions. There are 20 to 25 questions. And we sit like 4 people to a table, so you have other people that might know something you do not. You discuss it, write it on a little piece of paper, pass it around, and then one person that writes the final answer writes it on the big piece of paper, and it goes to the next table at the end of the evening. We score it. Oh, and it also costs $1 to play. And if your table has the most answers correct, you split the pot. So if there's 16 of us and 4 at a table, each person would get $4. Is my math right? And anyways, it's a fun group of people, and we have more fun making up strange answers if we don't know the answer.
Could you please repeat trivia night? What nights?
Saturday night at 7:30.
Is that every Saturday?
Every Saturday.
And it is located?
It is in the Grand Lobby South.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're more than welcome to come join us. Thank you.
Didn't seem to work as well. So we'll go ahead and get started this morning. I'm going to do the COVID presentation first. So Lou, if I can get you to dim the light, and we'll take a look at this is our COVID-19 update for the day. And we're going to take a look at our current data and try to put it in perspective over the course of the last week. So first slide. It's really, there's some encouraging news, and the numbers are continuing to decline. There's reason for encouragement here. The rolling daily average of new cases has hit its all-time high back on January 12th of 248,000 new cases in the United States. Since then, that number has dropped on a daily basis every single day since January 12th. They say here in the state of Florida that we've seen about a 30% decline in the number of new cases. On Sunday, just 2 days ago, the number of new cases hit 91,000. That's still a tremendous number of cases, but it's the lowest level we have seen since last November. So, encouraging news. We're not out of the woods yet. There are a couple of things that have doctors and scientists who are working on this still nervous. One is the mutant variations of COVID. They've been able to identify up to 4 different mutant forms of the virus, 3 of which have been confirmed as being in Florida. So that's something we're going to have to continue to be aware of, and there's very likely going to be another surge. We've had 3 surges, the initial surge, the one in June, and then the one in late December, January of this year. And so there's nothing to think that there's not going to be another surge. The numbers, go back just a second, the numbers are declining, but new cases are still 2.5 times greater than what we saw over the summer. So the numbers are still something that we need to be vigilant about and constantly watching. What is helping? The vaccinations are scaling up. In the past week, the country administered 1.62 million vaccines to Biden's new goal of being able to do 1.5 million doses per day. And so we are actually ahead of the target that the new administration has set in terms of being able to get the vaccine rolled out. It is still very difficult to get. Everyone here, 97% of us have been vaccinated, so that's great. But if you have friends or families or others that you may know in different communities, they're struggling to get this vaccine. There is a limited amount of doses, and it's hard to get. Nearly 40 million people have received their vaccination. That's about 12% of the U.S. population. And Florida has vaccinated more people per capita than any state. So Governor DeSantis has done a really good job of making sure that our long-term residents and those in CCRCs and over the age of 65, he prioritized them right from the start to make sure that we were protected and the most vulnerable got the vaccine first. Declining seasonality, which will continue to reduce transmission potential. There is a growing body of scientific evidence to support the fact that the vaccine, although maybe not impacted by heat in terms of spreading, there is evidence to suggest that colder weather prevents the spread of the vaccine. And so if you take a look inside the numbers, physicians and scientists are beginning to think that because of that declining seasonality, as we move into hot weather, we're going to see a change in the transmission rates. Improved testing capacity, that has made a huge difference. And I can remember as long as shortest time as 4 months ago, it was very difficult to even get a test. With the advent of the rapid testing and the daily testing that we do here on campus, particularly in skilled nursing or health center, getting a test is not as difficult, and it's a great diagnostic tool. It's our primary diagnostic tool that we use in identifying potential outbreaks and preventing the spread amongst our population. What's made the biggest difference? It's the behaviors. We've really done a great job, all of us, residents and staff, and the protocols that we've put in place. Mask wearing. Nearly 74% of Americans routinely wear a mask when venturing out. Social distancing. We've all learned to maintain 6 feet. We spread out when we get together. We wear our mask. That social distancing is making a difference. We avoid large gatherings. We try to go outdoors as opposed to indoors. If we're indoors, we have our 3-family rule that we apply. We try to maintain the social distancing and keep our crowd size to smaller units. Staying at home and self-isolating when you are ill or have symptoms is a really significant way of protecting not only you but others who might live at the community. So that has been effective. And then early diagnosis with health interventions has been key to this whole process. And what we have seen, and we've demonstrated this here at Regency, we've also seen it on the state, national, county levels, it's that early diagnosis. When you first have symptoms, reporting it, letting the front desk know, letting Leslie know, calling your physician, seeking emergency room help. Early diagnosis prevents hospitalizations and deaths. And as we move into being in a post-vaccinated community, there are a couple of different things I want to look at. The first is the, next slide please, is the difference between mild and moderate and severe. And we've talked about, you'll recall from last week, one of the things that the vaccination does, it does not prevent you from getting COVID. You're just as likely to get the virus as you were prior to receiving the vaccine. What it does do is it reduces the likelihood of you getting a severe case of COVID. you're going to be dealing with mild symptoms as opposed to severe symptoms if you've had the vaccine, and you should get exposed. And so it's now going to be more important that we work to identify what symptoms you have, because with mild or moderate symptoms, the recommendation from the physician is very likely to self-isolate, quarantine at home, and watch for a change in symptoms, as opposed to the more severe symptoms, which will very likely result in hospitalization or at least a trip to your physician. And so here's some of the changes that we are now seeing. You'll look at fever, chills, cough, lost sense of smell and taste, fatigue, congestion, runny nose, sore throat, aches and pains, headaches, diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting. Those symptoms are very similar to flu-like symptoms, right? And so that's what you're going to experience having had the vaccine, and if you should get a diagnosis of COVID. You're going to get very mild to moderate symptoms. It changes if you haven't had the vaccine and you get a more severe case. Then you're looking at shortness of breath, persistent pain or pressure in your chest. You're looking for new confusion that wasn't there previous to the exposure to the virus. Difficulty staying awake, bluish lips or face, and then low oxygen saturation levels below 90%. And the reminder that we always give, the sooner you start to experience symptoms, the more important it is to notify the front desk, get Leslie to come up and do a wellness visit, and help you make a determination as to whether you need to self-isolate, call your physician, or seek medical attention at a local hospital. Okay, Don, let's exit out of here. So here's what I'd like to look at on this chart, and this is Florida testing, and I want to call your attention to the line graph at the bottom, and you can see the dotted white line. That's the threshold that has been set by CDC for infection rate. It's set at 10%. And Don, if you go and hover above that red dot on 1-3, just a little over a month ago, right there, if you just hover on it, you can see back on 1-3, the positivity rate in Pinellas County was 11.91%. So we were pretty far above the threshold. But look what has happened over the course of the last 5 weeks. We've just seen a steady, gradual decline. And now, Don, if you go and look over here on this 210, it's not labeled, 210, 211, the very last dot, and hover, it's dropped from mid-11s all the way down on 2.7 to 5.6%. So we've seen a reduction in our positivity rate here in the county by more than 50%. And so that number continues to look really good. I want to take one more look at the health metrics, which is the slide all the way over, one from the right on the toolbar. We look at this every week, and these numbers just continue to really be outstanding. The one in the upper left-hand corner, the beige, that's the number of people who are presenting at emergency rooms and hospitals with flu-like symptoms. We've seen a steady decline. Look at the purple chart down below on the left-hand side. That's the number of people showing up at hospitals and urgent care centers with COVID-like symptoms, and that has just completely fallen off the chart. There's a per 1-800 to per 200,000 people, and it's the numbers are just so much improved. Select documented new cases, the graph over here in the yellow, that also has continued to decline over the 5-week period, and the percent testing positive for laboratory testing also has seen a gradual decline. And so everything that should be going down is going down, and nothing is going up. So that's really bodes well for Pinellas County and for Regency Oaks in particular. Thank you. Okay, so the two other things I want to take a look at, and that's to look specifically at Pinellas County. So we have 61,778 hospitalizations since this started back in February of last year. And since then, we've had 1,372 fatalities. The hospitalization rate, yesterday we had 4,014. It was up just a few, about 8, and then the death count was up 1. Now remember, Pinellas County is over 1 million people, and so those numbers, when you look at it on a per capita basis, they're really outstanding. Most importantly, let's look at the number of individuals, either residents or staff, across all product lines, whether it's independent living, skilled nursing, or assisted living, the number of people who are either experiencing COVID or flu-like symptoms or are under quarantine. Right now, it's 0. It's been 0. This is the 9th consecutive day. And so, great job, everybody. It would not be possible without the vaccine and everybody practicing good social distancing, following the protocols, submitting to the temperature checks, and we couldn't have done it without you. So great job, and you should be very proud of that accomplishment. What that does mean is our numbers now are very close to that 5% positivity rate. We've seen positive trends in terms of exposure and infection rates at the community. And so that means we are now ready to make the request to take the next steps in reopening our community. So I don't have anything to announce today, but I did want to share that we will be submitting some requests this week, and hopefully by next week's Tuesday talk, we'll be able to share with you some of the next steps related to reopening Regency Oaks. So good news to come. With that said, I'm going to close out the COVID portion of the meeting, and I'm going to turn it over to Mary Mackey, our Vice President of Operations. And Mary, we're going to turn over the stage to you.
Thank you, Brent. What a wonderful presentation. I learned a lot this morning. And I know that you've done this throughout this pandemic, and I commend Brent for that information sharing that he does. Hasn't he done a great job? Yes. So important that we continue to do exactly what Brent said and wear the mask, practice good health habits, social distancing, and then we'll continue to see those numbers drop. And what a great day it was when everyone were able to get their second vaccine. So we're so fortunate here. Okay, just wanted to talk a little bit about the goals for our division. And as you know, a year ago we transitioned from being 49% owned by Peak to 100% owned by Peak, and we're now part of LCS as their management group. They are the manager and Peak is the owner. As a group of 13, we've developed goals for 2021, and I'm just going to highlight a few that will mean the most to you. Although all of these are important goals and all of them contribute to the great success of Regency Oaks. First of all, it's almost second to the bottom, partner with Life Care Services Development on master planning and repositioning. I think that everyone is aware that we are working on the town hall, and we're working on other potential expansions and repositioning of the community. So that is moving forward. There are weekly phone calls about this. I know that Brand is sharing information as we're able to, but I think that that is a great news for us, and that Peak has made this a priority for the division to work on the master planning here and the repositioning of the community. So that's great news, and that's in process. We're going to continue with that. We also are really focused on our people, employee recruiting and retention. As you know, we can't do all the great things that we do here with you without the right people and in the right positions. So that's always a priority for us, and we're looking at different ways to improve our recruiting and retention practices of associates. One of the things we've done is partnered with a company called Glenn Devens, which is an advertising and marketing company, but they've helped us with our social media, on our websites, on how to best drive people looking for jobs to the Regency Oaks website. And we don't have the numbers yet on how well that's working, but that's continually going to be upgraded so that we do know that people do use social media, websites, Glassdoor, other ways, Google reviews to look for positions, and we want to take advantage and be on the cutting edge of that. Sales First Culture, that's our name for occupancy-driven activities, and that includes things such as the Ambassador Program, which is really well developed here. This group of residents really have taken it to the next level in terms of defining how residents can assist in the sales process and bring in new people to this wonderful community. So that's a focus. Also, we're looking at something very important, I think, for the future of senior living, and that's EverSafe 360. We don't have that video. There's a short video out, but I'm sure when we get some more information, Brant will be sharing it with you. We're strategically looking at how to improve the safety and the health safety of our residents in senior living. I think there's been some reluctance for people to move into congregate care settings, thinking that they may not be as safe as being alone at home. And we've put together some really great information. A lot of research has been done to promote the safe environment that we have in our communities, and we're going to be doing things to enhance the safety, such as air filtration, etc., so that we can continually provide a safe environment for the residents and our staff. Several of the things that we are looking at too are our Extraordinary Impressions program and Heartfelt Connections, but those are names for what we call our hospitality promises to you. And have you been able to review any of those principles in any of these meetings?
So they've had the intro look at it. We have not scheduled the full hour and a half in service with residents.
Right. So that will be forthcoming. But again, pardon me?
The cards are out.
The cards are out, so you can congratulate the staff. But this really is our promises that we keep for you and how we're going to continually focus on that. We'll be doing a mini resident survey first quarter, probably by April. We'll get this out to you. It's going to be a short survey just for residents and independent living at this point. And we're just trying to get a trial test on how we're doing, how we coped with COVID, what we can do, and we'll be doing what we can do better. We're going to be doing a full-blown survey at the end of this year or later in late summer. But you will be seeing something come out. It's a very short, like 10-question survey that we'll be asking you to fill out, and that's going to be forthcoming soon. And then a much more extensive survey at the end of the year. Other items on this list really have to do with our performance, how we manage accounts receivable, things of that nature. Again, behind the scenes, these are important functions of Brant and the team to make sure we're good stewards of your money. Having said all that, I'm going to pause here and see if there's anything that you'd like to ask me about any of these goals or goals that you haven't seen up here that you may have heard about through Brant and others.
We're well informed.
You're well informed, I know. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way that maybe construction of assisted living will come soon?
So the question is about assisted living, and that's part of this master planning process, but it's not on the docket to start this year. But it's part of the thought process on the master planning and repositioning. Hasn't been forgotten. Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you all. Good to see you in person. Wonderful.
All right, before we open up for questions and answers, we have a FLICRA update. I'm going to turn over the mic.
Board of Directors annual, the local Board of Directors annual election is fast approaching, and we would like to encourage anyone interested in joining that board to please contact me, Jim Kiefer, R107, or in each of the north and the south buildings, in the lower right-hand corner of the mailboxes is a mail slot that you can put your information in. That said, ready for some good news?
Yep.
3 months running, we keep hitting high water marks. Mike Murphy reported yesterday in our board meeting, 70% of the residents are now FLICRA board members.
Harry and Don with microphones, so if you have a question, just raise your hand.
I have no question.
Could you do a quick reminder about the laminations?
So today, there are specific hours?
Yes.
Okay, today, during specific hours, I have no idea when, we are laminating your COVID vaccination cards for a donation to the Alzheimer's Association, and that's in both the north and the south building. Mm-hmm. And I think Tiffany is looking up our times.
North was this morning and south is this afternoon.
North was this morning and this afternoon.
9 to 11 and 2 to 4.
2 to 4 this afternoon in the south, and then this morning we're over in the north building. So it just, these are not wallet-sized cards. They're too big for that, but by laminating them, they're just going to hold up a little bit better. So if you're using them and putting them in and out of your purse, they're just going to carry better. All right. Any questions?
Who are the cheer girls?
The cheer girls. I have no idea.
It's a group
Tiffany's
of-
going to tell us.
I'll tell you.
Oh, there you go, yeah. I was going to say that.
It's a group of ladies who like to go over to Sylvan and spread a little cheer.
Mm-hmm.
And every month we go over. Of course, we haven't been able to go for a year now. But hopefully, Kyle says one of these days we'll be able to do that. We go over and give a card that says, hello, we're having a fun time, whatever you, just something to cheer them up. Because we have to be careful, we can't give anything other than a card. And it's surprising how many cards some of those people have that we've given to us. We have someone here who makes the cards for us, and sometimes we put a little verse in there from each of us. So if you're interested in joining, give me a call or see me and say we have room. We can only take about 5 people at a time. So that's it.
All right, the cheer girls. Any other?
Brent is an update on the pool battery charger. We have individuals that use it, they can't use it because they have no battery in the chair.
Did it come in?
So last week the battery did come in, but we're still having some issues with it. Actually this week Dee is not here because she's actually stuck due to the snowstorm. So we're hoping she gets back to us next week safely, but we are still working on the battery for the chairlift.
Dee does not have to be here when we use that chair.
Well, yes, sir, I do understand. I'm sorry. I just wanted to let everybody know that Dee is not here this week because she's stuck due to that. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much for turning out. Go and have a great day. And lamination this afternoon in the south building. Still have an hour left in the north.